Welcome to United Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Reverend David Kramer, minister here at this church. With me today, Alex Chilson, our Director of Music, Dennis Reynolds, our Director of Religious Education, and Meg Whaley, Chair of our Religious Services Committee. This is a pre-recorded video service. It will be available on our website throughout the week. During this time of distance and social isolation, I hope it helps you stay connected to this caring community. Please pay attention to your Monday, Tuesday, and Friday email posts from Patty Vanderpool in the office. They will help keep you up to date. I have a couple of things to lift up. Today at 1:30, we will continue our four-part discussion group of the UUA Common Read and Indigenous Peoples History of the United States. Today we will discuss chapters 4, 5, and 6. Anyone who has opened the book is welcome to join the discussion, but the link to the Zoom meeting goes only to those who have registered. I will not be sending this link out directly or generally. So if you wish to participate and have not yet registered, send me a message now. And again this Sunday, as we have been doing every Sunday of sequestration, we will hold an online coffee hour starting at 11:30. Along with the email inviting you to this service was a link to the Zoom call for that coffee hour. So far, we've had more than 20 people join each Sunday. If you are still new to Zoom, it's easy. Just click on the link and follow the instructions. Our theme this month is liberation. Among the efforts toward liberation that Unitarian Universalism can claim is the effort at welcome and acceptance of all sexual orientation and gender identity. We are not perfect, but we proudly fly our rainbow flag. Friday was the National Day of Silence, on which LGBTQ students and allies take a vow of silence to protest the harmful effects of harassment and discrimination of LGBTQ people in schools. This day was started in the mid-90s by two college students. Every April, students go through the school day without speaking, ending the day with breaking the silence rallies and events to share their experiences during the protest and to bring attention to the ways their schools and communities can become more inclusive. This year, because we are all in quarantine, the event was held in virtual space. Now, 2 days past the day of silence and fully alive in the world, we can speak out against harassment and discrimination and the many ways we push against each other. We begin our worship each week by lighting our chalice. Please join me with words you may know by heart or printed in your order of service. May this flame kindle within us the warmth of compassion, the glow of love, the fire of commitment, and the light of truth. Here together we scatter and nurture seeds of spirit, service, and community. And now let's sing together. Today I have a hymn from the Teal Hymnal, number 1007, There's a River Flowing in My Soul. Please join us if you can.
And this time
Dennis Reynolds up for A Time for All Ages.
Good morning. My name is Dennis, and I'm the Director of Religious Education here at United. And today I am going to share with you guys something that maybe a few of you have seen before. A few months ago, I showed you this really cool pocket watch that I got from my grandfather. And last time I opened up the back and we looked at all the little gears and all the little things that make it go. But something I didn't tell you last time was that it doesn't work anymore. I don't even know when the last time it might have worked. I imagine it was a long time ago. So it's been stuck on 345 for a very, very long time. And I guess it's right twice a day at 3:45 at night, and at 3:45 in the morning, you could look at this watch and you would know the time, even though it isn't working. Well, I think a lot of times we don't live in the moment, and we think and we have so many regrets and sorrows, and instead of being liberated from those and living in the moment, we kind of just let our minds wander. So my challenge to you is to live in the moment, and even if maybe you're doing something wrong or you feel bad, just to live in the moment and to be liberated from those things. Because just like a broken watch, even if you're wrong, you're probably right twice a day.
That's one more time than I'm usually right. I want to invite you into a time of silent reflection now, meditation, prayer. Take a minute to reflect on life and where we are. I have been making a daily habit of saying grace before I eat, and it's a time to find gratitude in my life. I hope you can find some in yours as well. Words from Gretchen Haley. This is a call for all the people longing for liberation, all who wander too often, the desert not sure of the way forward, too often, thirsty and afraid, looking for water. Here is a call to collect ourselves and the hopes we have tucked away, set aside too often for another day. Here we are building a welcome table that never finds its end, a river that cannot run dry. The waters are always rapid, and then still steady, and then waterfalls. There is nothing tidy or perfect possible in this journey. Abundant life is messy and glorious, filled with risk. This is a call for the diving in. With all the dreams of your heart, the struggles, the silliness, the fear, the hunger, the courage, the community, the love. Here we remember the time for joy is always now. In our time of sharing, I want to lift up the members of our caring committee who have been keeping in touch and responding and living into the bonds of community. Jennifer Byriger, Paula Pombianco, Donna Lundeen, Lisa Bieri, Peggy Ann Harris, Denise Cage. Honestly, I don't know what I would have done without this group in this time. We pulled together this committee earlier this year because we knew that we needed it, and then the pandemic hit. We could not have planned that better. If you know someone who needs a call, or some physical help, shopping, or laundry, or if you yourself can use a hand, or even just a phone call, please reach out to me or to anyone on this committee. It is our care that keeps us together. Also, in our time of joys and sorrows, I want to lift up a few more people whom I don't know have any particular things going on in their lives, but who I want to recognize as part of this caring community. I am grateful for Anne and Rusty Armstrong, Mike and Donna DeWicki, Sabrina Benson and Matt Heiser, and Mira and Abri and Xavion, and for Kim Johnson. For all of these and all of us, Let's sing together, Walking with You. Our reading today is number 637 in the gray hymnal, A Litany of Atonement. For remaining silent when a single voice would have made all the difference.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For each time that we have struck out in anger without just cause.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For the selfishness which sets us apart and alone.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For losing sight of our unity.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For those and so many acts, both evident and subtle, which have fueled the illusion of our separateness.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
Today I want to continue the discussion of getting beyond sorry that we started at the beginning of the month. If you recall, we talked first about empathy, about grieving with others, the kind of sorry that we are unfortunately feeling a lot of these days as we live under the strain. Last week we took on a really big topic, the divine right that the founders of this country took for granted, which allowed them to steal land and enslave people and engage in genocide to build a nation that we inherit. Today I want to take a step back to a more personal kind of sorry, the kind of sorry that knows who you are and can grow from it. Our beloved Conversations group, which has been working through an anti-racism curriculum just before the quarantine, was studying microaggressions. Those constant, inadvertent, well-intentioned, and constantly debilitating little jabs that white people make to people of color. It is often hard for us to understand these. They are, by definition, unintended. So it's hard to recognize, even if you are doing something wrong. And then when you are called out, it's even easier to say, well, I didn't mean it. But you know what they say about good intentions. It does not matter whether you meant to step on someone's foot. What matters is that you broke their toe. Imagine, for example, that you work in an office where there's a daily staff meeting. Your boss takes the time to personally greet everyone in the room, and every day he gets your name wrong. He does this even though you have told him many times that you are Jane, not Paul. And still he does it. Every time. It's like you never asked. After a while, you might start thinking that he does not really care about you, that you are invisible, and that this is not a good place to work. Now imagine you are a person of color and you hear things like, you are so articulate for a Mexican or an African American or whatever, implying that Mexicans or African Americans or whatever in general are not articulate. Or, I love your culture, it's so connected to the earth, meaning primitive. Or, you're black, what do black people think about that election a couple of weeks ago? As if you speak for everyone. Or, can I touch your hair? No, just get away. When you come to realize that you are saying these things and realize the damage that they do in otherizing and diminishing people, people sometimes respond by becoming defensive. Some things you might say are, I didn't mean it that way. You're so sensitive. Well, is everything PC these days? Or, I'm not a racist, I have black friends. Or relatives, even. You might even come to a position of paralysis. You can say, I'm just so overwhelmed, I don't know what to do. Sorry, I have failed. But none of these responses is adequate. Guilt, if all we do is wallow in it, if all it does is leave us stuck, is not a productive emotion. I'm going to say that again. Guilt is not a productive emotion in this equation. Robin DiAngelo, in talking about how white people often respond to newfound knowledge of their complicity, identifies what she calls white women's tears. So I'm a little chagrined to share this, as she so clearly identifies this behavior in women. I think that men must do this too, but perhaps in other ways. What she describes is how sometimes white people, when called out for a microaggression or a stereotype or some other expression of implicit bias, will sometimes shut down the conversation or leave the room in tears. Common response of everyone else then is to rush over to that person and try to make them feel better. This is like the scene of a car versus pedestrian collision, DiAngelo says, where all of the EMTs, upon arriving on the scene, rush to console the driver of the car, who is beside herself that she could have done such a thing. Meanwhile, the victim lies bleeding on the pavement. As the inheritors of privilege and of this nation, those of us who are white are compelled to acknowledge our complicity. And we are forced into the hard work of figuring out what to do with that. Sorry is a start. It takes a bit of doing. But when someone calls you out for a microaggression or whatever, resist the urge to become defensive. Do not throw this back onto whoever is calling you out. Listen to them. Try to understand the damage. Do say you're sorry, but then, and this is most important, try not to do that thing again. Once you recognize this, you can notice this in others. Let them know. This is especially important for white people. And tricky. But because you are smart people, I know you will find ways to let someone you know that this hurts. That we can all be different. You can also think about teaching your children. Teach them not to be colorblind, but to recognize color. To know that other people's experience is different. And to honor that. In your own life, you can think about ways that you show your own color, because everyone has one. Come to understand what it means to be a person of your own particular race, its history, its present, its connection with everyone else. And make a commitment to keep on learning. Keep on pulling on the network of relationships that connects us, and as we said last week, keep on keeping on. Do not get stuck in the guilt. Guilt is a useless emotion for this work. Forgive yourself for these and so many other acts, both evident and subtle, and then begin again in love. Blessed be. Birds come calling for to carry my mother Once again, coffee hour begins at 11:30 and at 1:30 book discussion. I hope that you have found this online service worthwhile. We're compelled to distance, but it is our connection that brings us joy wherever you go. Go in love, seek justice, find peace.